Hello, and welcome to The Sleepy Thinker, where science dreams slowly and curiosity never rushes. Whether you're winding down or just waking up inside, I'm glad you're here. Let's begin. From before the earth had a name, the ground beneath you feels permanent. But permanence is a trick of tired eyes. You touch the earth as if it has always been there, solid, patient, yours. But the earth arrived late. It was stitched together from broken stars and leftover light, born not in silence, but in collapse. And still, something in you feels older than all this. Not your bones, they are borrowed. Not your name, it came much later. But the awareness behind your eyes, the echo behind your thoughts. It stares at the stars like it's been waiting for them to come back. Tonight, as you lie beneath a sky made of history, a strange truth wants to find you. You are not here because the earth exists. The earth exists so you could arrive. You are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because you remember too much, not with your mind, but with your being. This isn't just a story about where the earth came from. It's a story about how you might have always been here, even before here was born. You made it. To the hour when thought feels heavier than sleep. I'm glad you're here. This is The Sleepy Thinker, where science speaks softly, and your own questions are sacred. If you're listening from a quiet room or a city that never truly sleeps, leave a whisper in the comments. Tell me where you are, or what your soul remembers when the noise fades. So lie down, slow your breath, and drift. The story starts long before stars had names, and somehow you were already listening. The memory. You were born. With you were born before your name, before your first breath, before even your first thought. And yet, something in you already knew. It blinked behind your eyes as they opened. It listened for sounds no one taught you to fear. It flinched when there was no reason to flinch. You arrived in the world as if you'd already lived it once before, as if life were not beginning, but continuing. Esu, where does that knowing come from? Science calls it instinct. Some call it the soul. But maybe it's something deeper than either, because your body was already writing stories before you had a mouth to tell them. The cells that form your skin came from your mother's blood, and her blood came from every woman before her. You are not a single person. You are an orchestra of ancestors, their memories still playing in your bones. Scientists once thought memory lived only in the brain, but then they found something strange. Memories hidden in the body. Not stories, not events, but reactions, the kind that happens without thinking. Why do you fear falling? Why do loud noises make you tremble, even as a newborn? These are not learned. They are remembered. You were born with a survival map already drawn, and you've been trying to read it ever since. That map was shaped by fire, by predators, by loss so old. It no longer has a name. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a well of ancient knowledge, inherited but unspoken, where archetypes, mother, shadow, light, sleep in all of us. He believed we are born not as blank slates, but with mythologies already echoing inside. Patterns we didn't choose, but must navigate. Jung saw dreams as memories not of your life, but of humanity itself, of stories so old they wrote themselves into your instincts. And maybe your fears aren't just yours. Maybe they're echoes of fears once felt beside firelight, fears that kept your lineage alive long before your name did. In 2000, something profound happened. Eric Kandel, a Nobel-winning neuroscientist, discovered that memory isn't just chemical, it's physical. In a sea slug called aplysia, he showed that even the simplest nervous systems can form memories not in thought, but in response. Touch it once, and it recoils. Touch it again, and it recoils faster. The body remembers. Now imagine your nervous system. Trillions of cells, each with a memory of its own. And it doesn't stop at you. Epigenetics is the study of how trauma and experience can alter your DNA's expression, revealed something almost poetic. That suffering can echo. If your grandmother endured famine, your body might process food with fear. If your father lived through the wear, your heartbeat might skip in quiet rooms, not as a flaw, but as a memory, trying to protect you. Somewhere in you, your ancestors still walk through forests, still ducking at the sound of thunder, still hold their breath in caves of silence. You didn't ask for their memories, but they shaped your life before you even knew what a life was. Long before labs and literature, cultures felt this truth. The indigenous Australians believe in the dream time, a timeless space where ancestors walk, and where every place remembers who walked it first. They say that land is not just land, it is a song, and you are a note inside it. In their view, you do not own memory, you belong to it. The ancient Egyptians had a word, Ka. It meant your vital essence, the twin spirit that existed before birth and lingered after death. They believed your Ka entered the body like a breath. And when you were born, it didn't begin, it returned. So perhaps the story of you is not one of the beginning, but of remembering. You have never seen a saber-tooth, but your heart races in forests. You've never fought for fire, but you feel safer near warmth. You carry ancient rituals inside your body. Instincts, alarms, mirrors of a world that doesn't exist anymore, but shaped the one you now walk in. And here's the strange part. Modern psychology has found that even children adopted at birth, who never meet their biological parents, can still reflect their parents' patterns in addiction, in joy, in grief. It's not just the environment. It's resonance. Memory, it seems, doesn't need storytelling to survive. It only needs survival. The Pleistocene epoch 2 million years ago. That's when you were being sculpted, not as a person, but as a pattern. There were no names yet, no cities, no voices like this. But in caves, children flinched the way you do now. Mothers sang the way yours did. Hearts ached the same way yours does. So who are you, really? Are you the sum of your choices? Or the echo of everyone who never had a choice? Maybe you are both. Maybe you are a bridge between what came before and what could come next. You sleep in a bed your ancestors never had, but your dreams still belong to them. You think in a language your ancestors never spoke, but your feelings rhyme with theirs. You love in colors they never named, but your heart beats with the same quiet fire. So when you feel anxiety in stillness, when peace feels unnatural, when joy flickers like a thing you don't quite trust, remember, that might not be yours. that might be ours, passed through blood, etched in breath, written in the spaces between cells. The truth is, you were not born into memory. You are memory, wrapped in skin, and every time you blink, you remind the universe that its oldest stories are still alive. But there's something even older than bone, older than instinct, older than ancestry. It's not in your genes, it's in your atoms, the same atoms that once danced in oceans, before oceans were even blue, the same atoms that shimmered in stars before Earth was even born, which leads us to water, to the place that first gave memory a rhythm, to the salt that still sings in your blood, to the ocean that might have been your first mother, and maybe your body remembers her, because your bones didn't come from stone, they came from the sea. But if your body remembers, what about the earth beneath your feet? What stories are buried in the dust? Your bones remember oceans, your body is a shoreline, where memory comes to wash its hands, and salt never quite dries. You are made of oceans, not metaphorically, biologically. Your blood carries salt. Your tears taste like waves. Your cells swim in liquid tides. You never learned this. And yet, you've always known. The ocean didn't leave you. It became you. The calcium in your bones was once dissolved in seawater, carried by single-celled creatures that had no name. Your skeleton is not a fortress. It's a coral reef turned inward, a monument to evolution's long patience. You are not separate from the sea. You are its latest attempt at standing up and walking inland. Millions of years ago, something left the water, but it never stopped remembering where it came from. In your mother's womb, you floated for weeks, a small aquatic creature dreaming of lungs. Your fingers were once webbed, your body curved like a fish. You began in water. The sea was your first home. It held you without asking. It knew your shape before your form had hardened. Charles Darwin knew this. Long before his theories became headlines, he studied barnacles. 23, those small, sea-anchored beings, he saw a story unfolding life, trying new shapes again and again. He didn't start with apes. He started with oceans. And from there, the branches grew. Every species, every organ, every spark of what we call thought can be traced back to that ancient salt, to that first flicker of electrical impulse beneath translucent skin in a world of silence and tide. Your nervous system didn't begin in you. It began in plankton. Tiny creatures are feeling the pull of the moon. Rachel Carson, one of the ocean's most tender poets, once said, "The sea, once it casts its spell, holds one in its net of wonder forever." She wrote not with facts, but with remembrance, as if she, too, had gills once. She showed us that the ocean doesn't just feed, it sings. And in its song, we find something familiar. In the Polynesian creation chants, life begins not in heaven, but in the depths. They speak of Tangaroa, god of the sea, father of fish and humans alike, who pulled islands from the waves like secrets. These stories do not separate us from water. They marry us to it. Not myth, memory. Likewise, the Sumerians, among the oldest recorded civilizations, believed that salt was sacred. They used it in offerings, not for flavor, but for origin. To them, salt was a reminder that we came from something vast and still carries its essence. Your brain floats in fluid. Your cells thrive only in balance, and your every breath once belonged to a fish. The Cambrian explosion, around 541 million years ago, was not an explosion of fire, but of forms. Suddenly, life bloomed in the ocean depths. Shells, spines, simple eyes, tools to remember the world differently. That's where your story begins. Not on land, but in the hush between tides. So when you stand at the edge of a beach, and your chest tightens, and your breath forgets to leave, it might not be awe. It might bear union, your atoms, recognizing home. You are not just made of star stuff, you are made of sea stuff. And the sea has its own kind of gravity. It pulls without ropes. It calls without words. It remembers without trying. Even now, evolution hasn't fully let go. You still choke if water enters your windpipe, because your body remembers a time when the path to air wasn't finished yet. The laryngeal nerve in your neck, it takes a strange, looping route. Why? Because it evolved in fish. And your body never bothered to edit the old blueprint. We are all echoes, walking fossils, soft rivers wearing shoes, and the way we move, the way our hips sway and our arms balance. It's all borrowed from creatures that swam before they walked. When trauma floods the body, we call it drowning, even on dry land. Why? Because water isn't just external. It's a metaphor, and it lives where emotion hides. In grief, we sink. In joy, we float. In stress, our hearts tide. There's a reason why we cry, not just to express, but to cleanse. Tears come from the ocean within, a salt offering to whatever still aches inside us. Evolution is not erasure. It's layering. You did not stop being amarine. You simply built stories on top of it. Your spine still remembers the waves. Your ears still balance like fish in water. Your skin still shimmers with ancient thirst. So when you feel a longing for places you've never been, especially the sea, know this. It's not wanderlust. It's ancestral memory, calling you back to a silence you once understood. The sea was never the background. It was the stage. And you, it was its latest poem. One day, life walked out of the water. Not to leave, but to tell the ocean's story in a new language. That language became thought, emotion, consciousness. But every word you speak, every idea you carry, still smells faintly of salt. We talk about evolution like it's upward, but maybe it's sideways, maybe it's spiral. You didn't escape the sea. You became its memory, and now you walk, carrying tides in your blood and stars in your name. And when you sleep, your breath slows like the tide, and your body curls like it did in the womb a small fish floating in warmth. Every night, you return to water. You drift. You dissolve. You remember. This is why the ocean soothes you. Not because it's peaceful, but because it's familiar. You're not just near it. You're part of it, and it's been waiting for you to come home. And if bones can remember oceans, maybe stars remember you. Maybe silence isn't empty after all. The sky. Your mind still paints, close your eyes. Even in the dark, your mind lights up the sky. You see colors no one named. You visit places you've never walked. You speak in languages you've never learned. How? Where do dreams find their ink? And why do you know the shape of stars, even before you know their names? The body remembers the ocean, but the mind, It remembers the cosmos, not as a fact, but as a feeling. As paintings drawn behind your eyelids by hands you've never met. You sleep for rest. But dreams, they are not resting. They are a movement, rehearsal, return. Every night, your brain lights up with the fire of 1,000 stars. And still, you lie still. REM sleep, rapid eye movement, a stage where your eyes dance under closed lids. Neuroscientists say this is when your brain writes the theater of dreams. But why do those theaters always open to Thesky? Why do you fly in? Dreams. Why do you fall? Why does the moon feel like a mirror? Henri Bergson, the French philosopher, once said, "Memory is not something stored, but something lived." To him, dreams weren't fiction. They were leaking the past whispers through thin walls. He believed your consciousness is just a lamp shining in a much bigger room. So maybe dreams are not stories you invent. Maybe they are places you return to, blueprints you forgot, until silence lets them surface. And in that silence, the stars begin to speak. Maria Sabina, the Mazatec shaman, used dreams to heal what words could not reach. She said the sacred speaks in images, that spirits live in visions shaped like animals, winds, and light. In her tradition, a dream is not a puzzle. It's a visitor. And some visitors arrive wearing robes made of stars. You've dreamed of skies you've never seen in waking life. Skies with too many moons. Skies that pulse. Skies that sing. So, where do those skies come from? Are they metaphors? Or memories from before birth? Or echoes of the universe, remembering itself through you? In Vedic philosophy, they speak of swapna, the dream state, one of 4 consciousness modes. It is not sleep. It is a realm, a transit station for the soul. They believed dreams hold karma, not just from this life, but from others. In that sky, you meet yourself again. The Inuit believe dreams are messages from the animal world gifts, not illusions. They don't analyze dreams. They listen to them. If you dream of a bird, perhaps it's calling you to migrate. If you dream of ice breaking, perhaps your inner world is shifting. To them, the dream is a compass, and the sky it paints is true. Modern science tells a different tale. In dreams, the default mode network activates, the seat of inner thought, imagination, self. It's the same network that activates during deep rest, mind-wandering, and self-reflection, the bridge between silence and meaning. But it doesn't explain why we return to similar symbols: flying, falling, stars, breath, sky. It doesn't explain why dreams feel more real than reality sometimes does. Dreams have their own geography. They recycle faces. They twist rooms you thought you knew. And always, the sky above them remains both familiar and impossible. In dreams, you meet those who've died. You visit houses you have never lived in. You float through time with no calendar. And when you wake, a part of you still lingers there, still looking up. As a child, you dreamed more vividly. Not because your brain was better, but because your boundaries were softer. You still believed the sky could speak. You still saw gods in constellations. You still asked the moon to stay a little longer. And science has noticed. Children spend more time in REM sleep. Their dream worlds are longer, deeper, closer to the stars. Maybe that's why they believe in magic, because they're still touching it at night. But even now, your mind draws stars in the silence, even when your life feels too heavy for wonder. Your subconscious climbs quietly into the sky and begins to draw again. You dream not to escape, but to return to an inner sky older than childhood, older than thought. The Neolithic Revolution, when humans first settled, first farmed, first built. That's also when they began to build with the sky in mind. Stone circles, burial sites, all pointing upward. Why? Because even when we stopped wandering, our dreams never did. We looked up and saw ourselves reflected, not in shape, but in silence. A silence vast enough to hold every forgotten version of you. Dreams aren't just nighttime stories. They are fragments of a self that doesn't need time to exist. They are clocks without numbers, maps without lines. The ancient Greeks knew this. Artemidorus, a dream interpreter, believed dreams were divine speech. They were not riddles. They were translations from the gods. To him, a dream of stars meant leadership, a dream of flight liberation. Perhaps our dreams still whisper those meanings long after we stop listening. In grief, we dream more. In transition, we dream with urgency. In love, our dreams soften and hold. Dreams are not mirrors. They are weather, forecasts of the soul. When you see a sky in your sleep, it's not random. It is a language without grammar, but with deep truth. A syntax of stars, a vocabulary of distance, a punctuation made of time. You are not alone in this. Across every culture, humans have painted their ceilings with memory. Caves in Lascaux, temples in Egypt, skies in stories. Always. We painted the sky we thought we came from. And maybe we did. Because the photons that burn in stars are the same that taught your brain to see. You were born from stardust, but also from light. And your mind still practices the art of looking back. There's a reason people often dream of space, of floating, of stars pressing gently against their skin. In dreams, gravity forgets you, and time politely steps aside. Maybe your dreams, this is how the universe sees itself again. Each Mindisa telescope, each Dreamisa constellation drawn inward. Maybe the sky you dream of is not imagined, but remembered. In dreams, you are unburdened by logic, so the stars do what they couldn't do in school books. They whisper, they move, they remember you. And you remember them. Every time you wake with a sense of déjà vu, a sky you've never seen, but somehow misknow this. The sky your mind paints isn't fiction. It's an inheritance. And sometimes it paints a sky that never was, but perhaps it should have been. And perhaps your dreaming helps the universe imagine better skies. You were never just born to this planet. You were born to see it, to name it, to dream it. Your dreams are the Earth's way of reflecting on itself. So when you close your eyes tonight, watch what appears. Not just for fun, but Asari turn. You are not dreaming. You are remembering what the stars taught your ancestors to sing. You are made of breath and numbers. But who first taught breath to count? Let's ask the light before fire. The earth that wasn't there, yet before earth. There was no silence, only collapse. No blue sky, no soil, no name for light. But something in you still waited. You were not standing yet, not dreaming, not even forming. And still, you were already listening, not with ears, not with my mind, but with whatever part of you remembers stars like lullabies. Earth didn't begin with a whisper. It began with destruction, with pieces, a supernova, one of a billion deaths that scattered the building blocks of your future home. The iron in your blood was forged in a dying star. The carbon in your skin was exhaled by galaxies. You are not just from Earth. You are Earth's reason for happening. In the beginning, there were only clouds, gas, dust, heat, but gravity, that quiet, invisible hand, gathered the mess like a patient sculptor until the mess began to spin. And from spinning came into shape. That shape wasn't Earth yet. It was a disk, a cosmic swirl of hopes and leftovers. Scientists call it an accretion disk, a place where dust kissed dust, and mountains waited to be imagined. Anaximander, the ancient Greek philosopher, was among the first to say Earth floats in space. He imagined it suspended not on water, not on turtles, but in balance. It was radical, but it was true. What he didn't know was that Earth wasn't built from nothing. It was built from stories older than physics. 6 billion years ago, a star was born, our sun, and around it, particles spun in worship. Some became gas giants, some became moons. One became this, but it didn't happen cleanly. It wasn't a peaceful birth. A Mars-sized object. Theia crashed into the forming Earth. Not an enemy. A midwife. From that collision, the moon was born, and Earth became more than a rock. It became a system, a partnership, a rhythm. So when you look at the moon tonight, know this. It came from chaos, just like you. Scientists say the early Earth was hell. Literally, they call it the Hadean Eon. Molten, cratered, relentless. But even then, something was brewing. The ingredients of oceans. The seeds of breath. The first quiet possibilities. We think of Earth as the beginning, but it was already late to the party. 8 billion years ago, the Big Bang. Earth arrived more than 9 billion years after, which means most of what you are existed before your address did. So what does that make you? Not an Earthling, but a memory that Earth needed to become real. André Linde, a modern cosmologist, proposed the theory of eternal inflation, that our universe is one bubble in a foam of infinite possible worlds, which means this Earth was one version, one roll of the cosmic dice, one idea that stuck, and you are its consequences. It's a quiet echo. It's a reflection. The Dogon people of Mali knew of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye long before telescopes. They said it was the star of origins, the place where the Nomo came from amphibious beings who seeded Earth with life. Myth? Maybe? Or memory? In Navajo cosmology, Earth is the fourth planet, each one layered above the last like dreams. We emerged from the lower worlds not by climbing, but by becoming ready. To them, Earth is not a star. It's a threshold, and thresholds don't appear until you're ready to cross them. So what was the Earth waiting for? What were you waiting for? Not ground, not atmosphere, but a moment soft enough to hold consciousness without burning it, even before Earth had a name. You were orbiting in possibility, watching, waiting, breathing between stars, and slowly, Earth began to cool. Volcanoes hissed, clouds condensed, Rain fell for the first time and kept falling for centuries until the heat faded, until oceans formed, until Earth could dream. When the first rock cooled, when the first ocean sighed, something in you shivered, because it wasn't just a planet forming. It was a home, a body big enough to carry souls. You didn't fall to Earth. You rose with it. You weren't planted here. You grew from here. Your roots are not in dirt. They are in nebulae. That's why you feel awe when you stand on cliffs. Why does your breath catch when the wind remembers your name? It's not nostalgia. It's our union. You were here before here was called Earth. Every grain of sand was once stardust. Every breath of air once passed through fire. Every bone in your body waited patiently to be sculpted by time. And time, too, is a character in this story. It didn't begin with Earth, but it began for Earth when gravity gave it a stage. You see, time needs a place. It needs rhythm. It needs an orbit. And Earth gave it that. Earth was not the beginning, but it was a beginning we could feel. Before Earth, you were pure potential, and when Earth formed, so did the mirror where consciousness would one day recognize itself. So maybe the Earth didn't just form for you. Maybe it formed because of you, because awareness is needed, matters, and matter needed a reason to stay. And now, here you are, listening, lying still, drifting through this story like a dream inside a planet. The sky you dreamed of and above, it waited for this moment, because now there is a place for the dream to land. Earth is not your past. It is your portal to memory, to movement, to make matter made sacred. When Earth was not yet Earth, you were already light, already motion, already the question that life would try to answer. And Earth's answer was simple. Yes, I will hold you. I will build a cradle strong enough for thought to fall asleep and dream of stars again. And in that fire, something old began to whisper. Not words, but warmth that shaped memory. Fire was the first language. Before words, there was warmth. Before stories, there was a flame. Before memory could write itself down, it danced, and it danced in fire. You may think fire is a tool, a thing we tamed, a thing we used. But fire was not your servant. It was your first teacher. It taught you not just how to live, but how to become. Before books, before gods, before the song. A single spark gave the night its voice. You carry that spark still, not in your hands, but in your cells. You are a creature of warmth, of ignition, of burn. The story of fire is not just the story of heat. It is the story of change and everything it costs. Let's begin at the origin. Thermodynamics, the science of heat, of energy moving and never coming back the same. Every fire, every breath, every heartbeat adds to entropy, and entropy is not chaos. It's the law of forgetting, the truth that nothing stays in order forever. Sadi Carnot, the father of thermodynamics, saw fire not as destruction, but as rhythm, a cycle. His engine diagrams were prayers written in steam. He showed us that heat doesn't disappear, it transforms, and isn't that what memory does? You feel something. It burns. Then it cools. But it's never gone. It becomes part of how you move, part of what you avoid, part of what you seek again. We fear fire now. We've locked it in stoves, tamed it behind glass. But once it was everything. Imagine, the first human to see a tree struck by lightning, to feel warmth without the sun, to hear crackling in the silence. They didn't run. They listened. Because fire didn't just burn wood. It spoke, and they wanted to understand. Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher, said fire was the primary substance. Everything to him was born from flame. Not just physically, but emotionally. He believed the soul was fire. That identity was flame made self-aware. He was right. Not because we're made of fire, but because we're changed by it. Fire is transformation, and transformation is the heartbeat of life. Long before writing, humans sat around fire and became different creatures. Fire gave us warmth, but it also gave us time. Time to sit, to reflect, to remember. It stretched the day. It opened the night. It became the first cathedral. In Zoroastrianism, fire is sacred, not as a god, but as a presence. Their fire temples don't worship flame, they tend it. Because fire, to them, is purity in motion. In Celtic Beltane rituals, fires were lit in twin rows. People walked between them to cleanse, to be burned clean, without burning up. Even now, don't you feel lighter after sitting near a fire? Fire is not only physical, it is emotional. The burning in your chest when you say goodbye. The flame in your eyes when something clicks. The warmth in your palms when you touch someone and feel seen. And this isn't just poetry. It's biology. Your nervous system runs on electrical pulses. Miniature fires. Flickers of yes and no. On and off. Neurons speak in sparks. Even your digestion, the way you convert food into life, is combustion. Slow. Efficient. Relentless. You are a campfire that walks. But fire didn't just change your chemistry. It changed your mind. Anthropologists believe that once we harnessed fire, we evolved faster. Because cooking gave us more energy with less effort. And with that energy, we dreamed deeper. Around fire, we learned to tell stories. Not for entertainment, but for survival. To pass on knowledge. To name the stars. To soften grief. Even today, we talk about emotions in fire's language. We feel burnt out. We carry a torch. We ignite with passion. We simmer with anger. We spark with joy. Because fire is how we measure intensity, how we understand change, but fire also reminds us everything ends. The candle burns down. The match goes out. The stars themselves are fires running out of breath. That's entropy again. Not death, but return. A cycle. Ashes that don't end things, they begin something new. Every fire becomes smoke, and every smoke becomes cloud, rain, river, life again. So, maybe fire isn't destruction. Maybe it's memory-making room. And here's the mystery. You can't hold fire, but you can feel it. You can't speak fire, but it speaks to you. It shaped your myths, your fears, your longing to keep something alive. Even now, cities glow at night like modern bonfires. We've traded campfires for skylines. But we're still circling light, still seeking warmth in the dark. When a person dies, we say the light went out. But what if the fire simply moved? Shifted form. Joined something older. You see, fire doesn't end. It remembers. Every flame is the child of another flame. And somewhere, so are you. So the next time you stare into the fire, don't just watch it. Listen. It's saying something simple, something sacred. It says, you will change. You will burn. You will become something else. But it also says, you are already sacred. You are already flame. You are already language. Fire was never just heat. It was how the earth first spoke to you. Before language, before cities, before even time. Fire whispered, don't fear the change. You are made of it. But warmth fades. And when it does, all that's left is what refuses to be forgotten. The quiet law that shapes everything before you could remember. Something had Toby forgotten. Before stories could form. Something had to unravel. Before time could begin. A pattern had to loosen its grip. And in that loosening, the universe took its first breath. There is a law. It doesn't shout. It doesn't break. It doesn't pause. It simply proceeds, softly, irrevocably, everywhere. It's called entropy. Entropy is not destruction. It is permission. Permission for things to fade. Your body forgets the cuts it no longer needs. The mind forgets the pain that served its purpose. And the stars forget their heat as they pass it on. Entropy is not loss. It is letting go. When we lit a fire in Chapter 5, we lit the first sentence in a language called thermodynamics, and entropy is the punctuation at the end. It tells energy, you are free to move. But you cannot return unchanged. Ludwig Boltzmann, the Austrian physicist, spent his life chasing the ghost of entropy. He believed disorder was not chaos, but statistical destiny. Every system moves from order to disorder not because it's broken, but because it's free. In other words, a clean room doesn't stay clean. A candle doesn't stay lit. A memory doesn't stay whole. Not because something is wrong, but because everything wants to breathe. Entropy gives you your past, but it also takes it back, like waves writing poems, in sand, then washing them away before morning seas. Boltzmann paid the price for trying to explain the unseeable. His peers called him mad. His ideas were rejected. And eventually, he took his own life. But years later, his equations would become scripture. Etched into his gravestone, S. Tink log, the mathematical poetry of forgetting. If fire were the first language, entropy was its grammar. Every burn follows it. Every breath obeys it. Every cell remembers it. Entropy is why stars die. Why does snow melt? Why time only moves forward? Why do age? Why do forget? Why love changes shape? But here's the paradox. Entropy isn't failure. It's nature's way of making space. Space for new stars, new stories, new selves. Claude Shannon, father of information theory, took Boltzmann's law and applied it to thought. He discovered that messages like heat lose structure over distance. Noise creeps in, order dissolves, clarity fades. And yet, that fade is how we understand meaning. Without entropy, a message would never arrive. It would just sit, frozen, mute. So maybe forgetting is not weakness. Maybe it's a kindness. The brain is letting go so it can carry something else. Your neurons fire. Your memories form. And still most of what you experience, you will not retain. Not because you're flawed, but because you're alive. And living requires leaving space. There's beauty in impermanence. The cherry blossom brief and soft, reminds Japan of mono, no aware, the bittersweet beauty of things that end. The Tibetan sand mandala, painstakingly built, is swept away in ritual, because perfection is not in preservation, but in release. You, too, are a mandala, a pattern, a breath, a moment of color designed to dissolve, and yet, in that dissolving, meaning forms, because nothing lasts forever. But everything leaves a trace. A fire dies, but it warms the cave. A voice fades, but it echoes in the heart. A dream ends, but it lingers in your limbs. This is entropy's secret. It doesn't erase, it transforms when someone forgets your name. When time blurs the face of someone you loved, you ache. But maybe they are not gone. They are changing medium, moving from form to feeling, from story to rhythm. Entropy touches everything, but it also connects everything. Because when something breaks apart, its pieces go elsewhere. The star that collapsed becomes a planet. The person who left becomes a silence you learn to carry. You're taught to resist it, to hold on, to preserve, to store. But the universe is made of letting go. That's why trees drop their leaves, why hearts change direction, why clouds forget their shape. You're not here to hold. You're here to flow. Some traditions accept this more easily. In Taoism, there is no fear in dissolution, only movement. Wu Wei means non-action, not passivity, but harmony. Letting things fall the way rain falls, without struggle. In Buddhism, impermanence is liberation. The self is not fixed. The world is not solid. All clinging leads to pain. To let go is not to lose. It is to be free. Entropy is the freedom to stop becoming what you no longer need to be. You don't remember your first breath. You won't remember your last. But between them, you'll leave fingerprints on the fabric of time. Tiny disturbances, ripples of warmth, traces of having been. Entropy is not the enemy of memory. It is its sculptor. It removes what doesn't matter, so what matters can shine. Even in stars, entropy creates beauty. The final phase of a massive star is collapse, a supernova. One last breath of light that seeds galaxies. You are reading this because a star once chose to end spectacularly. So don't curse forgetting. Don't mourn what fades. Some memories are not meant to be held. They are meant to feed the ones that stay. You are not a museum. You are a flame. And flames don't achieve. They illuminate. So when you forget something tomorrow, smile. It means your brain is making space for a better sunrise. Boltzmann knew. Shannon knew. And now, you know. The quiet law is still unfolding. You are still unfolding. And nothing is wrong with that. Let this be your peace. You are not failing when things fall apart. You are following the deepest law of all. If time forgets everything, why does the past still ache in your chest? Maybe you're carrying things older than pain. When time forgot to move, you've always believed in time, that it moves forward, that the past is gone, that the future waits. But what if time doesn't move at all? What if you are the one in motion, and time is just the stage? We speak of time like a river, flowing from birth to death, from sunrise to sunset, from before to after. But rivers bend, rivers loop, and sometimes rivers freeze. Your memory feels linear, but your dreams aren't. Your emotions aren't. Your soul never needed clocks. In 1905, Albert Einstein tore the arrow of time in half. He said time is not absolute. It bends with speed. It stretches with gravity. And in his letters near death, he told a friend, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. You see, time doesn't tick. It curves. It dances. It waits." Julian Barber, a physicist and philosopher, believes all moments in time exist at once, like pages in a book. You don't move through time. You experience the pages in a certain order. But every page is already there. He calls it the block universe. Imagine a crystal with infinite facets, each one a moment. You are not walking through time. You are light passing through crystal, and every reflection is a life you call now. If that's true, then your childhood isn't gone. It's still echoing, just behind a door you forgot how to open. The moment you first laughed, still glowing. The hand you'll one day hold, already warm. Everything already is. In Mayan cosmology, time was circular. A wheel of repeating ages. The past was not left behind. It was revisited, recycled, relearned. They tracked time in Bakhtun's giant cycles of history and prophecy. Each ending, it was a return. In Hinduism, time is measured in yugas, cosmic epochs that expand and contract like breath, creation, destruction, silence. Then, again, time is not a road. It's a lung, and your breath remembers this. Try this. Breathe in. Now hold it. Notice how everything feels suspended. The future is paused. The past can't reach you. For just a moment, you are outside of time. What? If peace is simply when time forgets to move? In deep meditation, people report timelessness. In grief, time stretches. In awe, it stops. Time is not always clockwork. It's emotional, elastic, a mirror for the soul's rhythm. So when you say, "I don't have enough time," maybe what you mean is, "I've forgotten how to stop." Your body keeps time, circadian rhythms, heartbeats, cellular aging. But your awareness, it slips, it blurs. You blink, and years pass. You dream, and live entire lives in minutes. Maybe time is not something you measure, but something you feel. In the Andes, the Quechua people speak of time backwards. The past is in front of you. The future is behind you. Why? Because you can see the past, but the future is hidden. This reframe is subtle, but powerful. It means your memories are not lost. They are your vision. Your future, it sneaks up from behind. So maybe time is not the thing that ages you. Maybe it's the space that lets you change. And maybe the most spiritual thing you'll never do. Is it sitting still? Not to escape the moment, but to see all moments stacked, like stars behind your breath. In physics, time breaks down near black holes. It dilates. It freezes. Which means the universe contains places where now lasts forever. And perhaps, so do you. When you felt your heart stop in grief, that was a time pausing. When you stare too long into someone's eyes and lost your sense of place, that was the time unraveling. Not broken, just soft. Even Augustine, the philosopher, said time was impossible to define. If no one asks me what time is, I know. If someone asks me, I do not know. And still, you wake each day. You check the clock. You mark your age. You run. But for what? What if this moment is not leading anywhere? What if it is everywhere? There is no later in dreams, no earlier in love, no next in awe. There is only now, now, now. And every now is layered with past and future. The smell of childhood in a stranger's shirt. The shadow of your future self in a sudden tear. Time doesn't move. It reveals. So tonight, don't worry about what day it is. Let your thoughts slow. Let your breath return. And in that soft stillness, listen. You'll hear something strange. A silence beneath the seconds. A hum beneath the ticking. That's time. Being gentle. You're not running out of time. You're swimming through it. You're sculpting it. You're carrying its music without even trying. And if everything is already here, then maybe you don't need to chase anything. Just close your eyes and arrive again. Right here. Right now. Forever. There are parts of you that science hasn't named yet. Dreams that remember things you never lived. The sound the stars still make close your eyes. What do you hear? Maybe nothing. Maybe your own breath. Maybe the hum of a room. But if you listen long enough, you'll hear it a sound that has no pitch, yet fills the spaces between thoughts. The universe is not quiet. It never has been. You were just born into ears too small to hear its music. Every star sings, not in notes, but in waves. The sound is stretched across space, softened by distance, but it is there, and it has always been. NASA captured the vibrations of stars and translated them into audible tones. The result? A deep, rhythmic chant. Like breathing, like remembering. But we didn't need satellites to know this. Pythagoras, over 2,000 years ago, believed in the music of the spheres. He said that planets move through the cosmos like strings, across a lyre vibrating, singing truth into motion. To him, the universe was not noise. It was harmony, a sacred order of pitch and proportion. And your soul? It recognized those sounds long before your name did. Johannes Kepler, centuries later, used math to prove it. He mapped the orbits of planets and found music in their motion. Thy key, Earth, he said, sings a mi-fa-mi, a minor third, a sigh, a sadness, a reminder of mortality. So even now, as you lie in a room you call quiet, the stars are humming your origin. You can't hear it, but you feel it. Have you ever stood in silence and felt something vibrate inside you? A presence? A resonance? That's not your imagination. It's you remembering what you used to hear before ears evolved. The cosmic microwave background, what scientists call the afterglow of the Big Bang, is not just light. It's sound. Frozen sound. The universe's first breath still echoing through time. You were born into a song that started 13.8 billion years ago, and you've been humming along ever since. Your cells don't speak English. They speak vibration. Molecules communicate through resonance. They bind. They respond. They dance. You are not just matter. You are movement. This is why music moves you. It's not entertainment. It's recognition. When you hear a melody and cry, without knowing why, it's because something ancient in you has been remembered. Tibetan singing bowls produce frequencies used in healing. They don't heal in a mystical sense. They remind the body of its harmonic state. Dis-ease is dissonance, and sound reorders. In Aboriginal Australian cultures, the yidaki, often called the didgeridoo, is not an instrument. It's a teacher. Its drone mimics the Earth's pulse. It is used to align, to center, to remember the dream time. Even in Christianity, creation began with a sound. Let there be light was not just a command, but vibration. A word, a tone, a frequency. Before light came sound, and you've never stopped carrying it. Your heartbeat has rhythm. Your brain waves pulse. Your body listens even when your ears do not. Modern neuroscience shows that sound can change brain states. Alpha waves for calm, theta waves for sleep, delta waves for dreams. You are an instrument tuned by your own silence. Have you ever noticed how babies are calmed by lullabies in any language? It's not the words, it's the tone, the ancient comfort of sound wrapped in warmth. This is why we cry in music, why we remember with melody, why even people with memory loss can sing along to old songs. Music goes deeper than thought. It lives in places thought cannot reach. And the stars? They never stopped singing. The sun vibrates in massive ripples that shape solar winds. Those winds shape Earth's magnetic field. And you feel it every time you step outside and don't. Know why you suddenly exhale. Every planet in our solar system has a sound signature. Jupiter roars. Saturn whispers. Venus hums like a heartbeat in reverse. And you are the listeners they didn't know they were waiting for. You don't need to hear it with ears. Your bones know. Your dreams know. Even silence carries a tone. Have you ever walked into a room and felt tension without a word? That's not psychology. That's frequency. Soundless pressure. Unspoken noise. Entropy with a soundtrack. So maybe healing is not in talking more, but in learning how to listen. When monks chant, when whales sing, when trees sway in the wind, they are all remembering the same hymn, the one sung before Earth cooled, before planets turned. There is no such thing as silence. There is only sound, too deep to hear. When you sleep, your body resets to the rhythm. Your brain pulses in low waves. Your cells tune back to balance. It's not rest. It's resonance. This is why nature soothes. Not because it's quiet, but because it sings in frequencies you were born into. And when someone says, everything will be okay, what matters is not the words, it's the tone, the sound beneath the meaning, the music of reassurance. Even your voice carries vibration that others feel. When you speak, you don't just say. You play a note into someone's soul. So, if you've ever felt broken, lost your voice, forgotten how to express, maybe you weren't empty. Maybe you were just out of tune. The universe never asked you to be perfect. It only asked that you stay vibrating, even softly, even off-key, even if no one else can hear it. You are not noise, you are frequency, not chaos, but chorus. So tonight, when the world seems still, remember this: the stars are humming, the earth is singing, and you are the quiet harmony threading it all together. And when the dream ends, what remains? Shadows of lives you almost lived. The mirror in the dark. There's a mirror in you that never breaks, but you can't see it. You can only feel it's watching. It doesn't blink. It doesn't speak. But it sees everything. The flicker of fear. The quiet joy. The stray thought that disappears before it finishes forming. You are aware of the world. But who is aware of you being aware? That's the riddle. The ancient mystics called it the soul. The philosophers called it the self. Modern science calls it a question still unanswered. You wake up each morning as you. But what is that? Your body? It changes. Your thoughts? They shift. Your name? It was given. So who or what stays the same? Inside your brain, 90 billion neurons whisper in electric rhythm. But none of them say, I. None of them knows your name. None of them feels sadness or nostalgia or longing for stars. Still, something watches. In the stillness between thoughts, something remains. Call it a witness. Call it presence. Call it Tamira. But it's there. William James, father of American psychology, called consciousness a stream, endless, flowing, uncatchable. He said you could never observe it directly, because the moment you tried, you'd be using it to look at itself. It's like a flashlight trying to illuminate itself. But still, you know it's there, the you that watches you. In deep meditation, people describe becoming the sky, not the clouds, not the weather, but the space that holds it all. In Gnostic teachings, they believed the divine was not above you but within, that your soul was a fragment of light, shining through layers of matter and mind, and that when you were still enough, you could feel that light looking back. In Shinto, every object has a spirit. Even stones, even rooms, even thoughts. Not separate from you, but reflective of you. The world is not just seen. It is good to see you back. Your brain contains what neuroscientists call the default mode network. It activates when you are not focused on anything, when your mind drifts, when you remember, when you wonder who you are. It's the home of your story, your I. But here's the mystery. When monks meditate for years, this network quiets, and yet they feel more present than ever. So if the self turns off, who's still there? Some believe consciousness is not created by the brain. It's received by it, like a radio tuning in to a frequency that was always there. Donald Hoffman suggests our senses don't show us reality. They show us an interface, like icons on a screen. Useful, simplified, but not the full truth. The true world is too complex to see, so we see just enough to survive. And somewhere behind that interface is the mirror, still, patient, aware. Have you ever caught yourself thinking something and thought, where did that come from? That was the mirror noticing a crack in its reflection. You are not your thoughts. You are the space they move through. When you feel shame, it's the mirror being smudged. When you feel awe, it's the mirror being lit. When you feel nothing, the mirror still watches. In lucid dreams, you sometimes realize, I'm dreaming. That moment is the mirror awakening. And when you look in an actual mirror and feel something stir a flicker, a shiver, a pause, that's not vanity. That's recognition. A moment when the observer meets its own eyes. You've never actually seen your own face. Only reflections, photos, shadows. And yet, you say, me, without hesitation. So maybe you isn't a face, or a voice, or even a brain. Maybe you is the quiet awareness that outlasts them all. Even in death, some traditions say the mirror doesn't break. It simply returns to the light that shaped it. Not gone, just unfolded. You don't need to become awareness. You already are. You just need to stop mistaking the noise for the listener. The mirror is not loud. It's listening. So next time you feel lost, try this. Don't ask, "What am I thinking?" Ask, "Who noticed that?" Not as a riddle, but as a homecoming. The mirror never needed to find you. It was always here. You just had to become still, enough to see it shimmer. You've walked beside ghosts. But what if the ghost was you in a different timeline, blinking back? The ghost of every life. You didn't live. Every choice is a door you never opened twice. Every silence is a sentence you never got to say. Every path you didn't take still walks beside you, barefoot and invisible. They don't haunt you to punish. They linger to remind that you're more than the version you chose to become. You've lived only one story, but inside your mind, 1,000 others breathe. Unwritten novels with your name on the cover. Unfinished paintings you never began. And sometimes you feel them. That faint ache. Not sadness, not regret, but a shadow of something that could have been if a coin had flipped the other way. Modern psychology calls it counterfactual thinking. The mind's ability to imagine what might have happened instead. It's the birthplace of guilt, of longing, of hope. You didn't go to that school, didn't call them back, didn't stay, didn't leave, and yet some version of you did. And that version sits quietly in your imagination, waiting to be seen. Carl Jung called this the shadow self. Not evil, not broken. Just the parts of you you never let anyone walk in daylight. And when your life feels too small, too quiet, too dull, it's not failure. It's your unlived lives tapping on the glass. You are a prism, but most of your colors go unexplored. In Talmudic tradition, it's said every soul, all possible path are shown before birth. And in that glimpse, you fall in love with the lives you'll never live. So we enter the world already mourning what we had to forget. There is a science to your sorrow. Studies in regret neuroscience show that imagined losses light up the same brain regions as physical pain. This is why a missed chance can ache like a broken bone. The brain doesn't always know the difference between memory and imagination, which is why dreams can break your heart, even if they were never real. Into the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics, every possibility actually happens. Just not to you. A version of you moved to that city, took that risk, chose differently, and in some shimmering branch of reality, they are living that path now. Hugh Everett proposed this in 1957. He said the universe doesn't delete possibilities. It keeps them all splitting into a vast tree of infinite choices. And somewhere, you are both, the one who stayed and the one who left. This isn't just theory. It's an experience. Because your brain runs quantum-like simulations every time you wonder, what if? In those moments, you're not imagining. You're visiting. You walk through the corridors of could have been. You peek through doors that never opened. In Buddhist teachings, suffering is often tied to attachment to the self. But what if part of suffering is attachment to the self? you never let it be? The artist, the rebel, the healer, the one who said yes, the one who said no. They all live in you like seeds never watered. Have you ever cried without knowing why? Felt nostalgia for a place you never lived? Felt love for a version of yourself you never met? That's the ghost of an unlived life asking for acknowledgement. Some cultures hold funeral ceremonies for the futures that won't come. Not as superstition, as a release. Because grief isn't only for the past. Sometimes it's for the road that didn't curve your way. Your identity is shaped not only by what you did, but by what you didn't do. And that's okay. You were never meant to be everything, but you are meant to witness the multitudes inside you. The default mode network, your brain's daydream engine, activates when you imagine alternate selves. It doesn't just play fantasies. It constructs possibilities based on your emotions. So the versions of you that returns in dreams, they aren't random. They are echoes. Your mind considers it significant. Maybe they teach you. Maybe they comfort you. Maybe they just watch from across the void. And every once in a while, they bleed through. In a smell you can't place. In a feeling that doesn't belong. In a decision that feels like it chose you. Your unlived lives aren't gone. They just shifted forms. They appear as intuition, as déjà vu, as a sudden longing. When you feel like something's missing, not from your day, but your being, that's not failure. That's memory from a life not taken. The goal isn't to mourn every possibility. The goal is to thank them for walking beside you without bitterness, for never resenting your choice. When you stand still and breathe deeply, you might feel the presence of a life that never became real. Let it be a visitor, not a regret. Let it remind you that you are not one life. You are a symphony of what was and what wasn't. In ancient Greek myth, Persephone lived in both worlds, light and shadow, spring and winter. She did not lose herself by being more than one thing. She became whole. So can you. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, let the doors you didn't open remain soft in your heart. They're not locked. They're waiting in the quiet for a dream to open them anyway. So, who are you, if the earth were never home, but a brief resting place in your long return? The earth wasn't always here, but you were. Before gravity had a home, before stars had numbers, before atoms learned to hold hands, there was something. Something. Without a name, without shape, but not without you. You were not you with a name or a heartbeat, but you were part of the unfolding, the long inhale before the first moment. Scientists call it the Planck era, the tiniest slice of time imaginable. Before even time could stretch out its legs. Before physics had rules to follow. You can't picture it. No one can. But you can feel it in the way your chest tightens at silence. Too deep for words. The earth wasn't always here. But the particles that made it were. Your bones once floated in star smoke. Your skin was forged in fire, older than light. You are the aftermath of forgotten explosions, the echo of a star's dying breath turned into eyes that blink. The philosopher Anaximander believed everything came from the apeiron, the infinite, a shapeless source from which all opposites emerged. Night and day, hot and cold, you and the not you, long before life. There was entropy and dust. and in that dust, potential slept like a whisper. In Hindu cosmology, existence flows in cycles: creation, destruction, rebirth. Brahma breathes out the universe and breathes it in again. You as particle, as wave, as soul ride the breath of the gods. So no, the earth wasn't always here. But something that reminds you was, the carbon in your hands was born inside a supernova billions of years ago. That explosion wasn't destruction. It was preparation. You are not a visitor to this world. You are what the world became to see itself. The James Webb Space Telescope lets us see stars born 13.5 billion years ago. They died long before Earth existed, and yet their abe light touches your eyes tonight. Do you feel that? Not awe, not fear, but something older, something quieter, like recognition. There is a theory in quantum mechanics. Particles entangled together remain connected, even if they are light years apart. This means you might still be touching what touched you before you were born. When you stand under the night sky and feel known, that's not fantasy. That's physics in metaphor's clothing. The earth hasn't always been here, but something in you has always been listening. In Sufi poetry, they say, we are drops. Remember the ocean. We wander, we weep, we ache because we long for the silence we were born from. So how did you survive if Earth came later? Because you is not just this body. You is the pattern that keeps returning. Across cells, across species, across time. When dinosaurs slept, your atoms were in the soil. When pyramids rose, your molecules watched from the Nile. When fire was discovered, you were the smoke curling upward into myth. Memory isn't only in the mind. It's in matter, in motion, in math. The laws of thermodynamics hold your story. The way heat flows, the way time ages, the way order becomes disorder. All of it makes life possible. You are not outside those laws. You are their outcome. Your breath is a temporary balance between fire and stillness. You exist because the universe wants to understand itself, or maybe not wants, maybe just moves that way. Like gravity, like wind, like time. In Taoist philosophy, the Tao gives birth to the One to two, two to three, and three to all things. You are not a mistake. You are the 10,000th thing. You are the rhythm between opposites. And if Earth is temporary, what does that make you? Not fragile, but fluid. Not meaningless, but moving. Even in death, your atoms don't vanish. They return. They swirl. They recycle. The ash of your bones may one day hold flowers, or feed a star. You weren't here when Earth began, but your story was already being outlined in cosmic ink. And now you walk this earth like a visitor. But deeper than that, like a witness. The planet is not separate from you. You are Earth that learned to sing, Alan Watts once said. You are the universe experiencing itself. Note a metaphor, not ego, just truth in simpler language. You've never been outside of the story. You are the unfolding of the plot. In Mayan tradition, time is not linear, it spirals. Meaning, what was will be again, not repeated, revealed. So maybe you don't live once. Maybe you live whenever the story calls your pattern home. The earth wasn't always here, but you were, in the possibility, in potential, in presence. And tonight, as you lie still, you are stardust at rest, gravity and memory coiled beneath your ribs, time pressed like soft moss against your skin. The planet spins, but you remember what came before spin, before light, before earth, before. You were silent. Now you are sound, but silence remembers. And so do you. You were born before your name, before your thoughts knew how to think. But something in you was already listening. You, Earth wasn't always here, but you were, not as a body, but as a becoming. Now you remember not with facts, but with feeling. You've come a long way tonight, from the edges of thought to the center of silence, from atoms that dream to a soul that remembers. You've walked through forgotten time, unlived, lives and soft truths wrapped in starlight. You've heard the sound your bones make when they remember who they were, before they were bones. You are not just a person trying to sleep. You are, in memory, wearing a face. You are silent, trying out sound. You are possible curled into a shape that knows how to ache. The earth wasn't always here, but something in you was, and maybe still is. So when the world feels loud, or hollow, or too fast to touch, remember the stillness beneath it all. Remember the rhythm that pulses behind decisions, behind fears, behind time itself. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are right on time for the breath you were always meant to take. So close your eyes. Let the stories stay soft. Let the stars forget your name for just a little while. And if your heart still wonders about the lives you never lived, whisper thank you to the ones you did. If this helped you breathe deeper or rest a little softer tonight, maybe share it with someone who's still searching for the quiet they once belonged to. You were born before your name, and you'll remain long after it fades, because the earth wasn't always here, but something in you was. Stay here a little longer. Let the music carry what words can't. Let the silence sing your name home.